Welcome to another Traders Community podcast brought to you by traderscommunity.com. So, a interesting day to start off June the 1st. We have the glorious Madavi here. We have Smokin' Meta Johnny. And today's theme, and we'll leave it all for you to guess, is...
Hey, man. Check out now. Oh, shit.
Check out which one?
Sega, S-A-G-A.
Yeah, S-A. So I waited before we did a podcast for that thing to go. No, I know. So why do we do these? Anyway, so Amber Alert today for the markets as QT kicks in. So there we got that famous actress. Different to the one in a big court case, but they're on stage. So welcome all the investors and traders and punters and dribblers. I will just say this, particularly for the punters and dribblers, QT did kick off today, and really it's a large unknown, right? It's never happened like this before, the sheer size. So be very wary of all those dribbler furus, whatever they call them, especially on FibTwit. They didn't even really, from what I can gather, I don't watch CNBC, but I understand there wasn't much even mentioned about it. So all that things, it's a huge amount of money, unknown, start of a month. So that's a reason why to be tight right now. So let's move on real quick. As far as the SPOOs went, it has pretty well gone pretty well to clockwork, other than this big move in between. But if you were to look at it as a weekly. So 4100 SPX, 1852 Russell, the mighty NASDAQ 12.548, oils back under 115, 114.78. That's been very volatile. The real volatility in natural gas, that's back up to 8.57. So these are big moves, 78 points, 50 points. These are more or less the highest value futures out there. As you can see, though, when you look at this VIX, there isn't a lot of fear out there, right? So let's go to an hourly one of that. There's an hourly one to see how even on an hourly basis there is no real fear, right? And you can see that. That's why the market here is everyone's in FOMO. Inflation's just all over the place right now, right? So while we're talking SPOOs, let's have a look. So yesterday we mentioned putting on a small short off the tanking, right? Everything we do, fundamental, technical, all comes together in order flow. So we had that there. So as you can see, we did come off that quite nicely. But on the daily, it meant caution because we're over everything in the next levels of 50. So this right here is where we are in the weekly. So you size accordingly to the risk and the setups. I always want 3 things at least to confirm things. If you look at the 60, you can see what went on today. So we had that high yesterday when we were on holidays because it is futures. Then we had the sell-off with the high inflation. Again, it's like there's a denial, and that's what happens in bulls and bear markets. Look at this sell-off, but look how quickly it recovered. Now, it went right to the bottom of the hourly cloud, but the suck in here was it spat over these two and then back under it. So that was a difficult one if you weren't trading off the swing basis. Okay, let's look at... I didn't have why don't I have the NASDAQ up here? So the NASDAQ's almost the same thing. Russell was the weakest and then caught up a bit. But you got the same thing, right? So this is 6/8 as opposed to +8, but it is still an 8/8 move, right? So minus 2/8. So that may be it. I'm not saying it is. Pretty good chance looking at that weekly, right? So you size a proportion there. It also tells you to be very wary of longs, right? Any comments, Madavi, on NASDAQ? Any thoughts? Any wisdom?
Well, I mean, it's as we're back to that same old, choppy sessions and stuff like this. And, I don't, like I said, these are not my favorite markets to trade.
No.
I'm still on the bearish side, but man, these like we always talked about in these bear markets, man, you get some hell of rallies, and, you know.
Yeah. So you got to. That's what I mean. You got to size accordingly. So you made a great comment today, I think, to Johnny. You know, we know what's good chance of happening, but you want to give yourself that chance to happen. You can't go all in all the time. You know.
So basically all morning I was bearish as I am. I stayed bearish, and I got basically rescued at the end of the day by adding size to it, and also going long some of the NQs, but in different.
Yeah, you did the spread. Yeah,
I did. So I kind of did it the opposite way, because there's the minis and big minis. So I had to filter that and take the pain, so not that much pain, so I'm not losing a lot. And on the end of the day, I got luck, you call it, and it did came down, and I did recover.
Well, so, it did. You did wait till it started to break down, so that was good technical discipline. Now here I'm looking at the weekly Nasdaq, and you can see, punters, that what we did, see this pink blue line? That's that line that's been right across swiveling. It spat it, and look what it did. So when it collapsed, it went from this low, 38% of this whole move, went to 50, spat it. You see how it spits? That means people get trapped here, trapped there, and now we're spitting back under it. If this,
we got Johnny now. He's an NQ trader.
Yeah. So Johnny's shifted. He's had enough of the Bitcoin, and he's gone to the dark side.
Exactly.
Mind you, me and Madavi say we would argue he's come from the dark side, but
yeah. So let's get Johnny's point of view on this. So that'll be kind of good, because he just
So what's your thoughts on it? Because today there was a wicked session in there when. So here's what blows my mind. On one hand, if you want to be logical, but if you're reading crowds, it makes sense, right? Because I always say they're all FOMO, and Mandavi's made a point many a time. These people have never seen it. So in that beige book, there was is it 12 districts or 11 districts? It's all on the website there. But anyway, two of them said, it was either 2 or 3, said, prices are moderating. That was enough for bulls to kick in, or algos to kick in, and bulls to go, that's got to be good, right? And there we are. Once that's done, it's come off. But anyway, go ahead, Johnny.
Well, first of all, you look at the overall market and what's happening right now. This market being the reason why we're saying there's bear rallies. When you start looking at all those things, there's behavior that's going on, because what I usually do is study where I make a and look at how it's behaving. And it seems like right now versus a week ago, the algos are doing a lot more head fakes. They see people short, so
they're attacking. Yeah, because that's the FOMO rally concept. There's a lot of people think it's bottom, right?
Yeah, and it's just really tricky. But if you keep with your thesis or what your game plan is, and mine was that today, for instance, the market, whatever happens, I'm going to stay, and I'm not going to sell being in a short position, because there was really nothing for me to think that there was going to be a huge bounce up. So when I was short, good position, it turned around and against me, and I started to sweat a little bit because the pain was turned up.
A little bit.
But then it started really showing what reality is. Being in it became clear that I made the right decision, because I ended up almost 10 grand ahead. I was almost 10 grand under because I was holding that position. So there was that much swing in what was going on.
Well, yes. So that's what I mean by you have a strategy and you size accordingly. Because sometimes, so algos are running it, and it's a greed fear market. And so these markets are more greedy and fear than ever. So sometimes you're just going to get underwater. Unless, you're the guy, the wizard behind in the Wizard of Oz or something. But, but you did good. You're kind of fiddling into the right size.
Yeah, I'm trying not to take too much risk because you can get bit. And for yesterday I was quite a bit, and then I gave it all back because I tried to think this is what the behavior of the market, and I didn't think that the end of the month and other things were going on, and I went long, and Madavi here said I'm going to stay short. So what happened was I wrote it up, and I was good, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, huge red candles just smashed me.
Well, so that's why you got to be disciplined. Look at your charts and you get out. So I'm selling like off the cloud and all that. I not wait. So it's all of it. So here's the thing. Back in the day, if you're on the floor, you had an edge, right? All the orders come in. Then if you're a really good trader, be it technical, fundamental, whatever, you had an edge. And the insider trading, the Cohens of the world. Now, 85% of this shit is algorithms. And unless you're the algorithm that spent millions of dollars to be parked right on the exchange, you're behind the curve. So you got to look at what's your edge. So we have no edge of speed. There's no way on earth. So that's why the whole Nova Wave thing works, because you're getting in, and if you can work out, so we're all maths, right? So, and there's a time you'd still guesswork, but you're bringing the probability back to so you have an edge. Mm-hmm. So you're getting in where the machines are most likely to get in or out. And when it's choppy, I know the machines are getting choppy, right? And when machines have no emotion, that's why I don't do much. But when I get we get a setup like that weekly on the spoos, you got to have something on it, right?
Well, and
law of probability, right?
Keep in mind what we did yesterday, right? And usually we follow that same pattern and we do the same thing today.
Yeah, the thing is, yesterday was the end of the month. A little bit more me and experience, where Bobby had more experience. Just like what was the other time?
Well, so remember yesterday was the last day of the month, and today's the first day of the month.
Too, the holiday got me.
Yeah, that as well. Yeah.
I've had like $7,000 in shorts hanging over for the weekend, and then when I got back to it on Tuesday, I made it all back plus some because I stayed with strategy.
Yeah.
Well, here's what I like about futures, and we talked about this today, the three of us, was that, and we're talking about when we get whacked, usually it's on stocks because futures are cleaner. Yeah, they move faster. But in stocks, you got someone could be ramping it, someone's caught in it. There could be some
VP quitting.
Yeah, like that, or some fraudulent thing, or they could be doing a secondary, or they could get a good contract. There's so many unknowns that if you're the wrong way. Now, once
a great example of today.
Yeah, 100%. That's what I was thinking. And then you had earnings after the market, and we had two of the DDDs that we watched. AI. So remember, we're flat. We took profit on the DD. That's the dribbler. The 30 dribbler dozen, my brain. But AI was one of them. We saw that just instantly down $2. There was another one in a path up $1.50. So that's just punting. That's all that is, right? So in a sideways market. But when the power's going one way, and Chewy's not a dribbler, but it was another earnings, it was up a couple of bucks. The point is, in futures, so that'll come out on events. So you can be flat. It can be a jobs report, when Powell's talking, and you can go with it, and it's liquid, right? Particularly the minis. And we were looking at that today. So back in the day when Madavi and I first started trading, you had the big contract, what they called the big contract, but it was just spoos. And what did we call the NAS? I think we just called it the NAS. But it was $500 a point for a handle for S&P. They dropped it down to $250 when they brought in the E-mini, and now it's just all the E-mini, and now you have the micros. But what that's done, yes, it took away. So when it was just the big one, the points were worth more. Manavi made a good point. The only people who could trade it, were basically, you had $1 million, right? Or you had good money, you're big. So now the market's actually become better because there's so many small people all come together, right? So that's a plus for futures. in a roundabout way. I'm talking S&P futures. But NASDAQ back in the day was lethal. Remember that, Madavi, like 20 years ago, 15 years ago? If you were wrong, fuck. If you were right,
Yeah, about NASDAQ versus...
Mate, to now, this is like you're on your training wheels, you know? Back in the day, it was Wild West, mate.
No, that's what I was going to say is right now...
oil just fell, sorry. 40 cents. So there was one...
Now tech is getting hammered.
Well, you want to talk what was fun? When I first started trading, I had traded, so this thing called the MMI. I don't think it exists anymore. It was a major market index. It had 15 or 18 American stocks. Dude, the volatility. If you think it's volatile now of 100 stocks, or whatever, the S&P's 500, it was insane. But if you're a trader, you're attracted to it, right? Because you're attracted to volatility. That's what happens when you're young, or you start out. Then you realize volatility isn't always good. So you pick and time your things. But yeah, it's improved a lot. And that's why I don't even go near things like Bitcoin, because I've been there, done it, sort of thing, in other things. But yeah. And
what were you saying?
I said that the reason why, if I had my choice of S&P or Qs, I like the Qs right now because tech is out. So it seems to be a little understandable that when there's a direction, I'm going short. Well,
it's not just tech. It's got a lot of biotechs and all that shit too.
Yeah, I just
have the French
feeling that I'm being.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, it's what you're comfortable with, too, right? So, certain person. Well, it was mainly because the spreads were so big, right? Because they was worth so much. Dude, the moment you sold a spoon, and you usually hit bids and usually lifted and hit, right? You didn't. So the moment you hit one spoons contract, you were 500 in the hole, and you usually did 10, right? So you're $5,000 in the hole. Now that's S&P. The NASDAQ was a lot bigger, spreads and bigger. I mean, fuck, crazy shit. And these things would move like they are now. Actually, now I think we move more. Actually, if I bothered to work it out, but
in my favor that right now because we are directional. It's directional.
Well, right. So your personality will suit a certain thing, right? Some people love the Russell. Some people hate the spoon. Some people like the Dow. Some people hate futures. They prefer stocks. I mean, but the part of it is finding something you're comfortable with, and then you'll have an affinity, and then you'll start to get your own edge. You know, if you don't have an edge, you're always going to be behind. You got to be proactive, not reactive, and that's why I like the charts and shit while we share it, right? But it takes, and that's why if you haven't been a trader, like with size, been through the war pits, it's going to sound arrogant, but your opinion means absolutely nothing. And we tried a bloke, remember, full of shit, and we saw how that worked. So when me and Madavi talk like that, we're not being rude or anything, we're trying to help. Because it's really different when you're in the fire and when you've seen it. And we've all been whacked, make no mistake.
Oh, yeah.
So, and if you haven't, you're full of shit. Because it's all part of the process, ego and all that, and unlucky, lucky, things go wrong, wrong side of news, whatever it is. And over time, you get to recognize when to stay away, when to play, and things like that, right? And it's all psychological. Psychological is the strongest thing. If your mind's not there, and if you're telling stories, or if you're too greedy or too scared, scared money loses every time, right?
But they don't have an ego.
Now, you got to have pride. Is different to ego, right? You got to be. If you're not pride, you're not going to do any well. You got to be strong and aggressive in a good way. I mean, it's all relative, but
oh yeah, that sounds exactly like me.
No, you're as calm as they come, mate. I've never seen you get fired up. Have you, Johnny? And I'm as quiet as they come. So it's like,
No, you're worse. man.
Poor old Johnny between us, dude.
He's assassin, that's why.
So I think that gives a good summary of that. Let's look at energy, because there's so much stuff going on with oil. And what happens to oil and natty, when oil natty's down here and it's just us that trade it, at different volumes, different things. Once the speculators get in it, you get these wild moves. And these are wild. These are up and down 70 cents a day. Right? That's a lot of money. That's $100 a pip, a cent or whatever. Right? So these are big moves. And the reason it's moving so much is because those points are worth so many. And there's so many variables. Weather, what's going on in Europe, or, force majeures on a pipeline. There's a lot of things that can go wrong both ways in natty. So be wary. And as I said the other day, it's pretty hard if you're not trading it. It's best to be away from it. And if there was a good day yesterday to get cheap puts, right? So there was a good trade there on some of the stocks. But you can see now some of these hot stocks are being discovered by people that wouldn't touch them down here. SWN, DVN, EQT and the natty. Then if we go to, so that's natty. It's still doing the same thing. Remember 503, pretty simple. And on oil, and they don't just go one way, right? Look at Oxy. And these things move $4 or $5 a day. They move more wild than the actual contract. So look what we did, right? We had API come out just before. It was pretty well as expected. But we're now under the tanking on the daily. So this needs to hold on to this spit like it did here, or we're coming back down here to the Cajun. And remember, tomorrow you have the oil number. That was normally going to be out today because of Memorial Day, going to come after natty. What other markets? So that let's just have a quick look at bonds, given what happened. So let's make that a 5-minute chart, shall we? So here's bonds. So remember, if the price comes off, it means yields. So if yields are coming down, bonds are going up, right? So today we saw yields close down to 931. Well, actually, let's look here. This is a better way to look at it. So here's the bond price. So bonds have been selling off all day. For, when is that? When's that high? That's like a week ago, right? So just think what that's telling us. So you've got all these dribblers who know everything about stocks, even though they got caught on the top, telling us what bond markets are doing. This is what bond markets are doing. This is a 10-year, right? And we mentioned all that in your report. So everything's on here. This gets put together. So just read through every market you need to know. And you want to know because they all interreact. If you can all see all that. Here's today. There was only one sector up today, guys. What sector was it? Energy. Everything else getting dumped. After hours, we had all these. Chewy, GME, some big ones, NTAP, Oracle, PAF. You can go through them. But anyway, we're talking about bonds. I just wanted to, whatever the heck that is. What the heck was that, guys? I don't know what I just did, but somehow I got rid of that. But anyway, so just real quick. So tomorrow is Thursday. We're going to have these out tomorrow. This is upgraded. Yeah. So we're going to have Sienna, not many, Hormel, CrowdStrike, Joan, Lulu, Okta. There's a few big ones there. R8. So you can see most of them are retail. As far as tomorrow being Thursday, remember we got natural gas and oil. You've also got continuing claims. That's relevant because you have the jobs report on Friday. We have unit labour costs, factory orders, and ADP right at the start. There was a bit of news out today. So just get on the website. You'll find them all. And that's really it from me. Anything else? So you've got all the levels here. So keep an eye on those bond prices. Keep an eye on volatility. And Madavi wanted to mention too that Amazon next week is splitting. Is it next week, right? Is it 20-1?
Next Friday, on Monday, the 6th, I think, will be the official, I guess, when it splits and everything taken. So I think you got to be in before Friday to be able to take the 20
to get the split. Yeah. So it's 20-1, right?
I believe so.
So that's 240. So this will be 120, everything being equal next Monday.
Yeah.
So what we're keen on seeing is if that becomes like Apple, in a sense, really heavily traded and more options, will give you another vehicle to trade. We're just thinking from that point of view, not from an economic point of view.
Maybe as far as buying it, split.
I won't go long it on Friday now, unless something changes in the macro world, because you're still long a stock, right? I don't give a shit just because it's split. Nothing changes, it's just more shares, right? Still the same PE and all that.
One thing does change. The volume changes and the way it's traded.
Oh, yeah. But that's on the Monday. But what I mean is the risk is the same as far as macro.
But for you to have the 20, you need to be in on Thursday or Friday.
Yeah. So I'll make that decision when I see how we finish out after the jobs report on Friday.
Love it.
I mean, yeah.
Well, make sure if Friday's not late, I think you're all right.
Yeah. So I just wanted to check that. Here's Arc Weekly down again. What a special stock that is. And here's Apple. Look at Apple. It went right to that line and boom. That's what I mean by having a game plan, punters and dribblers. And that's what so worst case on SPOOs, we're up. We can walk away of 70 handles on our SPOOs trade that we did the weekly short. Yes. Yesterday. Yes,
that's for you big guys, not little guys like me.
you got NQ as well.
I'm just a little guy doing the
story time. Dr. Seuss is in the house.
I'm working up to there someday. I got a picture of you guys on my walls.
So, talking about pictures on the walls, I got a signed Amber Heard poster. Do you think I will get any money for it now or not?
Nice. I heard Depend is giving their commercial.
I heard that, but I don't think she uses Depends. Though. I think isn't that part of the problem?
He's better in the sheets.
Especially if they're good linen. So here's silver. As you know, punters and dribblers, I am not a big fan of this for many reasons. So I like to trade it from the short side, but I will do longs off this sort of thing. If I actually trade it, I don't trade it very often. You can count on one hand over 15 years probably how many silver trades I've done, right? Actually, you probably only need 2 fingers when I'm thinking about it. So anyway, you can see how different this is to gold. It's just weak, right? So people like to compare the two, but look at the different shape on gold, right? Gold's just trying to get back over this. Whereas silver's just totally different situation. So just keep that in mind. People tend to lump things together. You can see copper's just jammed under this 50. We didn't touch on these yesterday. And that's really it. We just want to show you one more. That's GameStop. That had earnings today. That's a meme stock. So a lot of P&Ds love this one, right? Especially the punters. They love it, right?
Oh, yeah, man. I left too much. Man, I screwed that trade.
Look at this one, 114, 132. Gotta love it.
Man, that thing was. I got it at 117 and it looked like it's stupid dribbler. I got out at 123 something and it shot up to 1.
Went to 132, right?
I left like 10 points, like 8 points on the table. What a dumbass.
But look where it is now.
Fuck.
123. So GME was the meme stock of the day. I don't know. It's more a punter's stock. I don't think the dribblers, They're kind of scared of this one, I'd think.
Whatever it is.
They buy it at 300 probably. Remember those days? What's that look like in a weekly? It's got to be fun. Imagine owning this shit up here. 484. You know, remember this is remember I owned all that GameStop down here? $4. The sad thing is, punters, I got out right here. No, I didn't get out of the shit. I got way down. We're way down here. Damn.
You're a legend.
Yeah, legend. I got it wrong. But here's what's crazy. So he just shows you what can happen. We should look at this. It goes to 484 from $4 or something. It fell all the way to $37. I remember you did a really good trade in here. So it went from 37 all the way back to 350. Fell all the way back to just recently down to $75. Now, the reason I show you that is how violent these things can be, and really, they got no rhyme or reason to any fundamental whatsoever, or technical, you know. Sorry, mate?
Which stock was that?
That's GameStop.
Oh, yeah. How about this one over here? The one that TNXP.
The one we did today, the little one.
I started yesterday. It concluded today.
I think we talked about this last night, didn't we? I think we did.
I don't think we did. Maybe.
Yeah, we went
of a donkey sometime.
So this was, remind me, I think this is a biotech, and they did a buyback, right?
Yeah. I told.
Yeah, we did this. So I remember this one. So let me get an hour of 30 minutes. So we traded this yesterday, correct? And then today.
Yeah, you called it out, and I got in.
Yeah. So it had this good run. Now, let's be honest.
And got stuck in it.
These charts are worthless. I mean, they may look good in hindsight, and we could spin out a bullshit story. But in reality, this has been sideways forever, so there's not enough data to make the Murray work, right? It's based on history. So don't let anyone con you on that. So it's just really order flow is how we trade these, right? So
Here.
This went all the way, right? This is why you take your scale in and scale out. 480, and really this is why I was never in GameStop at $400 still, right? Imagine, because I get out too early. But better than too late, because look, 480 all the way back to 280, and now it's 318. So it did bounce. It did bounce 40 cents off that low.
The best trade in GameStop was selling the $900 calls and getting $10.
Oh, that was unreal. Actually, there was a few like that. I mean,
I couldn't believe that. Johnny, imagine selling the stock to 400 and 3 days ago to expiration to give me $10. 900.
I mean, and the people buying it, I mean, did they really think they could do it, or they were trying to manipulate the market?
Well,
who knows, but it's insane.
That's how you round up the stock, right?
Right, yeah, 100%.
Pay out of the money, and they just got crazy. And then all of a sudden, these people see running it, and those are the cheapest thing to trade, right?
Oh, yeah, 100%. Sorry, Amber just popped back in. Apparently, there was a court case today. Didn't go well. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Well, she's going to be great for officials.
Yeah, I mean, all jokes aside, it's kind of aggravating that was all it was on the news, which gives an idea. I mean, truly, that's just a personal thing between those two punters or dribblers. A dribbler might be appropriate. But that's such a distraction with all that's going on in the world. It just shows you how easy it is. There's so much more important things. Inflation, energy.
Stop talking.
Huh?
Shut down. All those cops in Texas.
Oh, yeah. On the border down there. And I tell you, being in Houston, that people are not happy for obvious reasons. It's pretty disgusting and disgraceful. Very sad, really, more than anything. So it's still a very somber mood because it's a very sad reality. And there was an attempt at politics in it right at the start. I mean, loss of human life. And people there's so many variables in there. Yeah, anyway, and right before Memorial Day too, when that's a time to thank for service, right?
Them right there.
Yeah. So
Useless.
yeah. So that will evolve, but certainly, I mean, hopefully there isn't 3 days of bloody TV on Johnny Depp and Amber Heard.
I just can't wait for a trial. All 18 cops standing outside. They should be all charging.
Right. Yeah, I think something's got to happen there, doesn't it? So
yeah, that's just unacceptable.
So on that note, so yeah, it is very sad. We obviously have feelings about that sort of stuff, and I think most people will. Well, let's leave it with Amber. She's got a lot to think about. Those levels, use your daily and weekly, and if you're not using Sierra charts, it's by far the best value out there. It has all the stuff you need. And the important thing, I see all these dribblers out there flogging all these different things. You want to keep what you watch as simple as you bloody can. I watch 3 things and know the patterns, right? Because you want to be clear and concise. And remember, technical's just part of your game. You got to know how to react to order flow, to news, fundamentals, all this sort of stuff as well. That's how you get to know the waves.
Part of the puzzle, right? They say
it's all right. And you know what? You're always learning every day. Me and Madavi have been around a long time, more than 5 years or so. And we learn something new every day, right, mate? And we're not too proud to admit it. So it's constantly evolving. It's like a beast, is the way I describe the market. You know?
I like it. I like when
you guys like me being around.
Huh?
Awesome.
We're going to have someone to yell at, mate. No, I'm joking.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's some guys who know how to do it, some guys handed in here, so you don't ask questions.
So the good thing is when you get people you're familiar with and you trust, like over the years, you help each other because you can't watch everything. That's the whole idea of us. We're like, back in the day, we were in a trading room, right? So everyone yells and helps each other and all that sort of thing. And you're all at a level. So what's happened in the era of entitlement, this is why we hammer on about dribblers, they try to make out they're that same kind of bloke as the guys that have done their whole living, right? Just think about it. You end up being the top trader at Goldman Sachs, say. You've worked up through uni, all the hard yards, blah, blah, blah. Some dribbler who's got a part-time job thinks he's as good as you and more entitled to you, and all he does is going to talk shit about you. That's extreme. But what happens is, if any of them, and we tried it, right, they get into the mix, they will cost you money because they don't know what they're talking about and they haven't been in the line of fire. You know, you got to do your job. I mean, it's not a good analogy, but what we were just talking about with those police, you got to be able to rely on people that say what they're going to do. And so that's what works, you know. And there's a few of us. There's not many, though. You know,
that's a job that you should be really you should be really trained in.
Right. And so, I mean, I know it's not a good analogy, but that's kind of what we do as well, right? But not lives. I mean, it's wrong to say that. I'm not even belittling it, but I'm trying to to answer Johnny's question, you know. So, yeah. Oh, you know what we didn't look at? Sorry, Amber. Oh, that's Leanne, I think. What's Carter's mum's name? Leanne or Diane? Leanne, I think. Anyway, we didn't look at crypto because that had a wild move up then down today. Yeah, so look at that. So yesterday when we talked briefly about this, it had this big rip up, right? Remember? Look at it, gave it all back today. Now, up until recently, and I don't know if it's changed, this would imply that all risk assets, i.e. NASDAQ, will get pumped. So we'll see. Punked, as in down, not up. Pumped down. So we'll see. That's worth watching tomorrow, punters and dribblers.
All right.
On that one. So, well, thanks for joining us. Hopefully some of the stuff we share is worth it and it's just not a bunch of dribble. But so if you like it, make sure you hit the like, and it does change the algorithm so we get seen better And if we get seen better, we get better people asking more questions, not better, but more people asking more questions, more input, and stuff like that. So it does help. So make sure you like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And happy trading. Remember, jobs number on Friday. So the market's going to skew towards that. And for energy traders, you got natural gas and oil tomorrow. And it's heating up more and more every day what's going on in Europe. Okay, bye now.
Wait.
And if you can't be cool, jump on a roundabout. Bye now.
And more you like, you're going to have make the movie star.